Hail, hail, boys and girls. We are back for Youth Champions League action here on the Celtic here. And this season, Celtic opened up their campaign against Slovan Bratislava under the Glasgow sun here at Leicester Hampden. The stand is starting to fill up and there's a good bit of excitement in the air. I'm getting big deja vu to when we opened up the campaign this time last year with a really good performance, and it's really pleasing to see that there's a lot of familiar names and faces in today's team sheet that we've seen play in the Youth Champions League campaign last year. A big thing that we enjoy following on the channel is the development of the youth players, of the B team players of Celtic in the Youth Champions League. And one thing that we did think last season was that there was a bit of inexperience perhaps playing at this level, but this year with half the team already played in this competition, it feels like we could get off to a great campaign, not just for the senior team but the youth team as well. I always enjoy coming to these games, especially when they're in under a bit of an autumn sun. I'm from Dumbarton originally, and a lot of these games used to get played down in Dumbarton Stadium, and you know, the opportunity to see some potential future first team Celtic players is maybe, as well as, you know, down at the Rock we used to get the reserves and stuff like. You maybe see some first team players come down when they were coming back from injury and all the rest of it. So it's always a good crowd that come to these games. It's always guys and girls that really support the team through thick and thin and are always there to see every kick of the ball. So we're hoping for an exciting match today. I'm quite confident we can get the win here today, and you know, let's see how it actually pans out. Two of the names that feature in the squad today that jumped off my notepad last year is Kyle Urey and Daniel Cummings. Both these guys did very, very well in all the home games we played in the Youth Champions League, alongside Daniel Kelly, who eventually made it into the first team, alongside Turley, Didi and Frame, who have already featured for the first team. It does feel like this overall, it's starting 11 for the B team, the youth team, is is of a much higher level than this time last year. And yeah, looking forward to it today. I hope Celtic can win this by 2 or 3 goals. Let's hope there's a clean sheet there as well. One of hoops.
In no time at all, I'd got my match ticket, made my way to my seat, bumped into a few friends of the channel along the way as we see the young hoops coming out to line up before the game gets started, doing the huddle, getting all the pre-match rituals out the way to really set the table for this Youth Champions League encounter. And the match started with a very good tempo, and it was a very different feeling to last year. First impressions, Mitchell Robertson, the dominant centre-back on the day, it really looked like a different player from this time last year. Physically and technically on the ball, it looks like he's developed massively over the last 12 months. And seeing Cummings starting through the middle here, it was a lot different to last year where he was playing on the edge of the attack and trying to link up with the forwards. Being the arrowhead, being the actual focal point striker seemed to suit his game a lot better. I know he got a couple of goals in this match, but even right from the off. As well as Kyle Urey, who also featured in this midfield for Youth Champions League last season in a different role, and in this kind of deeper lying controller position, again really from the off you felt that this spine of the team, who had that experience from last year, were like a level above the Bratislava players certainly, but were certainly the more senior players for Celtic B on the day. And Celtic B started this very, very aggressively. You know, right from the word off, we were going forward and trying to score goals. And whenever the ball was going out for goal kicks and all that kind of thing for Bratislava, they were really struggling to play out from the back. From their goalkeeper, they ended up building a box in defence here with their centre midfielders and their defenders, and then having the wings on for the fullbacks to try and transition them out of their own half and get into their attacking players that were going to try and hold a bit of a position higher up the pitch. But the way that we pressed them was actually something I found rather different to the first team and really intriguing, really exciting. We see Turley and Bonner stepping up to support the press here alongside Cummins, with Didi and Hatton more playing in a position that would be similar to wing backs in a 3-5-2 kind of off the ball, as it were, which just meant there was a lot more energy from Turley and Bonner to really go and interrupt play across a number of different players across their side of the pitch, leaving Cummins as the centre player to try and link up with them or get on the end of any turnover of play. But this really did feel like very much like 5 attackers and 5 defenders for Celtic versus Bratislava's 6-man defence, maybe 7-man when this midfielder popped in. And could you say they had 2 or 3 guys ready to pounce into attack? Maybe just about. But it doesn't take long for Celtic B to open up the scoring. We see Bonner linking up very nicely alongside the edge of the box, playing a penetrating run in for Turley, who then crosses it in for Cummins to tap it in. And this was a goal, like a lot of the Celtic B goals, that looked straight off the training ground. And as soon as that goal goes in the first 10 minutes, the confidence across the entire team goes up a couple of different levels. Bratislava really did look like the wind get taken out their sails and they're going to be in for a long afternoon. And that was going to be a sign of things to come. In terms of the new players that featured in this match, I thought, especially in the opening period, Hatton looked the most dangerous Celtic player on the ball. And it looked like quite often when we were building out from the back, we were looking to get him into possession in this kind of zone here and get him to travel up the pitch for us to try and get a ball into the box for any of the attacking players. And really, after he'd been on the ball one or two times, you know, he was getting by his man almost every time, and the fear in the Bratislava team of when he got on the ball was there to be seen. And whether it was Hatton on the right or a mixture of Frame and Didi on the left, this was going to be a sign of how the first half was going to pan out. And it didn't take long before the score became 2-0 to Celtic, with Cummings getting his second goal on the day. Again, straight off the training ground, we see Bonner coming inside of the pitch here and slicing a lovely ball through for Cummings to be one-on-one with the goalkeeper to finish it. And it wasn't upon me watching the replays and seeing Bonner's involvement in both the opening goals, it really did change my opinion, because really every bad portion of possession that we had, it really felt that between Bonner and Donovan, they were the ones that were losing the ball, and you know, it would give Bratislava any opportunity to transition to counter-attack on us. But he had high energy. He was really, you know, he was quite eye-catching in the sense that he was going everywhere. He was tackling lots of different players. He was very quick on the ball to try and, you know, take one or two touches and play it somewhere else. But, you know, actually live in the stadium, I didn't really feel that he was making much of an impact on the match. But when you see that he plays the pass to Turley to open up the first goal, as well as his killer ball for the second goal, when you see it from that better angle than what I maybe had in the stands, he does have a real eye for a pass, and he's somebody that we should be definitely watching out for. Turley obviously making first team appearances previously and being very effective in this game, as we'll talk about more in a second, is maybe somebody that Celtic fans would be more keen to see progress. But this is a guy that I think we could see alongside Turley slowly break in to the Celtic first team if this sort of potential continues to improve and develop. The other interesting thing that I really enjoyed seeing from Celtic B in the first half especially is, as much as I was talking about Hatton and Didi being these kind of wing-backy positions almost, allowing Turley and Bonner to be the press support, what we actually seen from Frame was a bit more of the Greg Taylors, and you do feel that this team is moulded around how the first team looks at the moment. Now, Frame wasn't doing this to the same extent that we see Greg Taylor, where he'll pop up in right mid and attacking mid and all the rest of it, but he was coming in here next to Ure just to give him an extra bit of support, and he still had that freedom to actually go out wide and support DD, either with an overlap or play a bit of 1-2 and all the rest of it. So it was interesting to see Frame have a bit of development in that sense positionally for what would be required of him to play in the first team should he make that jump up. And yeah, out of possession, I just felt that we were very, you know, much more like a 4-3-3, you might even say. But it felt like we had two men everywhere, and it felt like Bratislava really did struggle to get out of their own half with their little defensive box here with the fullbacks. But like I mentioned a minute ago, it did feel like everything wrong that happened with Celtic happened on the right-hand side with either Bonner or Donovan losing possession. And probably Bratislava's best chance in the first half came from a counter-attack down the right-hand side, a turnover of play, where they managed to get the ball onto the edge of the box here to try and get a shot away. But it was actually Hatton that came all the way back in and recovered to make a last-ditch tackle or block, however you want to think of it, to snuff out the Bratislava attack. And that was probably one of the most impressive things for me that he'd done in this game, because normally when I've watched these games before, the star player, the flair player in the team gets that license to be free. They're not going to track back. They're going to operate and hold a position of space on the pitch so that if we do turn the ball over, we can go and find them and then go and counter-attack. But not Hatton. You know, as soon as the ball got turned over, he was retreating, he was recovering, and he was putting his body on the line to make sure that the clean sheet stayed in there. And you know, it is somewhat a minor miracle that Celtic B did finish the first half with a clean sheet, because backup goalkeeper Rice, who came into this game, found himself twice in no man's land around the edge of the box, trying to do a bit of the sweeper keeper, and it not really looking that convincing and not really working out. It wasn't for the defensive efforts of the rest of the team. I think Rice would have probably gave away a goal for us by coming out to the edge of the box trying to snuff out long balls or a man running through, this kind of thing. So it's good that he's brave and adventurous and all the rest of it, but if Celtic went into half time at 1 each or even just 2-1 up, I think it would have been down to the positioning of the goalkeeper on a few of those breakaways. And as the teams came out for the second half, I had a feeling that maybe Bratislava might have made some sort of adjustment and maybe tried to like double up in a different area where maybe Frame was coming inverted inside here. Maybe they would try and double up on their right-hand side to try and get some joy, get some space. But they did start the second half with a bit more fire, a bit more tempo, but not without they didn't really have any sort of tactical development into the second half. But Celtic equally came out in the second half with a real fire in their belly to go and put the game to bed, to go and put a show on for the fans and get a really memorable score. Kyle Ure was probably one of the most composed and impressive players in the game, and with a nice sequence of play, he manages to slice open the midfield and the defence for Bratislava, for Turley to get his goal to make it 3-0. And really at that point you did feel it was game, set and match. It was all going to be Celtic. And from that point onwards we then start to see the substitutions happen. And I do think that Celtic B kind of suffered from what maybe Celtic suffered from last year. When you're in this position, you're 3-0 up, you've got players on the bench to bring on, maybe the guys that started the game are running out of steam, their batteries are running low. And just before the 60th minute we see Dargay come on for Hatton and McArdle come on for Bonner. I don't think at this stage really the tempo or the style of play really changed too much, but once we see the next couple of subs, we then see Kyle come on for Frame, Haddo on for DD and Isiguzu on for Cummings. And really the introduction of Haddo and Isiguzu in the last 15 minutes of the game, including added time or so, really did give this Celtic team a new dimension and a different way of attack. After Hatton went off, you did feel that a wee bit of the individual guile had went out of this team, but the boy Haddo that came on, by the way, was just as impressive as Hatton. He was getting on the ball, he was very direct, looking to penetrate the box, looking to get down the line and looking to play balls in. And really when he came on, you did feel that this left back was like, Jesus, I've got another one to deal with. And between him and Isiguzu, who had just as much energy, pace and power as Cummings, with maybe a bit more physical presence, he was an extra handful that the centre-backs had not accounted for and were not pleased to see when he came on the pitch. And needless to say, the fourth goal came from these subs. We've seen Haddo burst down the right-hand side, get by his man and play a great ball in for Isiguzu to nod it home. A very convincing, target man, almost Adam Ida style finish here to put the real gloss on the performance and make it 4-0. And this is a game where, there was a lot of individuals that I do feel that had gotten better since I'd seen them last year. And then there was a few new faces like the likes of Haddo, Hatton, even McArdle. I think he did feature last year, he looked okay. But Isiguzu and Bonner, who'd come off in the first half, were guys that made a big impression on me. And overall, 4-0, it flattened us. We should have maybe got 5 or 6 in this game. Cummings could have easily had a hat-trick with some of the chances that he had. But this is a result I feel is going to give a lot of confidence to Celtic B as they go on to the rest of the Champions League campaign throughout the rest of the year. And after the match, we managed to catch up with manager Stephen McManus. A very convincing performance, Stephen. We've won the opening game of the Champions League 4-0, much different to the first game that we had this time last year. Is there a big improvement that you've already seen from the players that played in the last year's campaign coming into this one?
No, listen, the boys work tremendously hard every day, and there's, like I said, they're young players, and consistency is a key part of the development. Our job's to try and educate them and try and prepare them the best we possibly can, but ultimately it's the boys that are going out in the pitch. So like I said, they've learned for the experiences that they've had with us. They're at a stage in their career where the development's the most important thing. The winning's not the most important thing, it's about the performance. So, but they've performed really well, and once you perform well, the results will then come for you 9 times out of 10. So loads of pleasing factors for the game. Like I say, we'll analyse the game, there's loads to learn, but the boys certainly deserved the result.
One of the most impressive parts of the performance as well, how well Celtic controlled the game out of possession, off the ball shape. Is that something that's came from you specifically as a coach, or is that something that's kind of in the club philosophy for the youth team?
No, it's absolutely nothing to do with me at all as a coach. It's again, we try and we're in constant dialogue with the first team, with the manager, the first team staff, and the manager wants us to play a certain way, and we try and replicate that the best we possibly can. There's, like I say, the managers are top managers. It's a top first team staff that we've got. That's why the first team achieve so much success. And again, we just tap into that at the best we possibly can, because everybody has to be swimming in the same direction, and that's what we've got at the club just now, and we've had that for a sustained period of time now.
Daniel Cummins was probably one of the standout performers in the day, scoring a couple of goals. Is he somebody that, if he continues this sort of form on, we could see eventually in the first team?
Yeah, I hope so. Like there's a few. Again, it's early stages in their development, but it's important that you don't get too carried away with young players. It's important that they enjoy kind of these moments, but our job is to make sure that they constantly learn, they constantly improve, because we want the highlight of our boys' careers not to be a youth league game. You want their highlight of their career to be making their debut for the first team and then become first team regulars and then bringing success to the football club at first team level. But in moments like this, the boys are certainly in a positive place, they're in a good place, so we need to just keep encouraging them to keep developing with positivity.
So there we have it. Celtic have opened up the Youth Champions League campaign in style with an emphatic 4-0 win over Slovan Bratislava. We hope you enjoyed the coverage, the video, the match report that we've done for you guys today. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more content like this. On screen and now some other stuff that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Hail, hail, Mon the Hoops.